I'm glad that you all are all here. And what we're going to do is open with a spiritual mind treatment, because that's what we always do. So join me in knowing the truth, that the presence and the power of the One is right here, right now. It always has been, it always will be. And it's as present in this moment as it has through all creation. It is the perfect presence of the creative force that creates all life in all form. The master of the universe, and it dwells within each one of us. At the point of us, that power to create is absolutely present. And when we remember that truth, we awaken to something greater within us. So we come together in this place at this time to do our good work of remembering, of awakening ourselves to that power, to live from that power, to be that power. And with that certainty of knowing, as we delve into our work tonight, I know that we are all blessed and that we all receive the benefit of this time together in wonderful ways. And certain that that is so, I invite us all now to recite together our increased income treatment. I, John, know that God is the source of all supply and that money is God in action. I know that my good is here now. I am so rich and so full that I have an abundance of money to spare and to share today and always. I know that true prosperity includes perfect health, perfect wealth, and perfect happiness. This word which I speak in faith knowing now activates universal law, and I accept the results. I bless all that I have now, and I bless the increase. I bless all the others in the increased income program of our center, and I know that we now prosper together in every way. I give thanks for this good, and so it is. Yay! Yay! Some of you wanted to stand. Everybody up. Let's do it again. Everybody up. I, John, know that God is the source of all supply, and money is God in action. I know that my good is here now. I am so rich and so full that I have an abundance of money to spare and to share today and always. I know that true prosperity includes perfect health, perfect wealth, and perfect happiness. This word which I speak in faith knowing now activates universal law, and I accept the results. I bless all that I have now, and I bless the increase. I bless all the others in the increased income program of our center, and I know that we now prosper together in every way. I give thanks for this good, and so it is. Do you believe it? Yes. All right, fantastic. Good job. So what we're focusing on in class 3 are benefits, action steps, and cultivation of our prosperous life. In that order, oh, by the way. So the first one on there is benefits. So basically what I'm going to do is sell you on the idea of being prosperous. Because being prosperous is way more than having money. So what I want to do is talk from a sense of us all being prosperous and what that can mean in our lives, okay? We call this benefits for living a prosperous life. Number 1, we're more consciously aware of the good in our lives. I think prosperous people know that they have good lives. And I think the more they know that, the more good their lives get. So the idea there is that when you're on the path of being prosperous, you see every element of your life as beneficial, as supporting you, as that which lifts you up into your fullest expression. Consciously aware of the good. The second one is we're more open to our intuitive nature. I absolutely believe that people that are prosperous are more aware, not from their senses, but from their innate ability to know things they cannot see, that they're able to receive that information and act on it more than most people. Because most people are caught up in the drudgery of life, and they're very much engaged in the physicality of life, in the problems of life, the challenges of life. And when you're doing that, you're not really focused on an intuitive awareness of your life. And you don't have access as well. I don't believe that most people would, in that circumstance, would have access to that sixth sense of intuition. How many of you have been at a point of choice in your life, and you hear that little voice say, do this? Everybody gets that? How many of you always listen to that voice? Not as many hands. And it's kind of natural. You know, you come to a point and you go, really, I should do that? I don't know. That sounds scary. And you talk yourself out of it. Now, you guys say you don't do that. That's great. Fantastic. Keep it up. But most people, everybody's intuitive. A lot of people don't realize they're intuitive. They don't accept their intuition as a force in their lives. So they get kind of stuck, and they'll say no to it. And I think most people at some point go, you know, I was going to do that, but I talked myself out of it. So the idea is, but prosperous people don't talk themselves out of it. They listen to that voice. They listen to that idea. They don't know where it came from. They don't know who's saying it, but they hear it, and they go, okay. I once heard the famous minister in our movement, Michael Beckwood, say that little voice said to him, get out of the stock market. This was in 2008. And so before anybody knew anything, he went and got out of the stock market. And when it tumbled, he wasn't in it, because he listened to that. Now, how many times have I or other people gotten that kind of thing, get out of the stock market? And you go, oh, it'll be all right. It's still going up. It's doing fine.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. And it always comes back up. So it's not that all is lost in that circumstance. It has never not come back up. But you got to wait for it to come back up. And it's like rebuilding to get to what you already had. So those kind of things can be very valuable. And people who pay attention to their intuition know when it's real. They just get a sense that that's not just a fleeting thought, that's information. And from that, they continue to live prosperous lives. So the idea of focusing on your intuition and believing in your intuitive nature really is a trait of people who are prosperous. Number 3, our thinking is more rational and creative. Let's take those two ideas separately. Rational. Rational. That could be defined a lot of different ways, probably. But the idea of rational is that you're not prone to dramatic impulses that distract you from a higher reality. That you're reasoning, that you're thoughtful, and that you're able to process information in a way that it's useful, not having random thoughts that aren't of any help at all. Rational thinking, I think, is something that people who are prosperous entertain. And the creative idea of being creative in your thinking, I think, is absolutely essential to being prosperous in life. You have to be creative. If you limit yourself to the things you've always done, you're just honing down in this tiny amount of possibility. Whereas if you're creative in your thinking, then you're thinking outside the box. You're thinking far beyond the box. I'm sure most of you have seen this little exercise that we've done in class, and I think most people on the planet, or at least most people that I know have done it at some point. It's the 9 dots. Remember this one? Let's just do it, just pretending that somebody in the room has never seen this. So the task is that you're given with these 9 dots is connect them with 4 straight lines. this, 2, 3, that didn't work. So maybe it's this way, 2, 3, oh, that didn't work. And you can play with that all day long. But the thing where people get stuck on this, and the reason it doesn't work for people, is they try to stay inside the box. And it was not part of the instruction. So,
Yeah, I was like, does it have to be one continuous, I mean, they all have to be attached?
yes, they all have to be attached. That's part of the deal. So let's see. I'm trying to remember how to do it.
We're gonna let you do it, Joan.
Anybody remember?
Oh, I don't remember.
Yeah, but it's right there. And people are watching this on and going,
Yeah.
come on, John,
John, let's go around the room and
come do it. Come do it, Mark.
It's been a while. It's hard
It
to
has, it's been a
describe.
while, but you'll love it when he does it. I'm just not seeing it right now. There it is, there it is. That was it.
to do it.
I know how to do it, I just pulled it up. I use my Google.
He's almost there.
Yeah. Maybe we need
Yeah. Let me see that.
3.
There's actually two, there's the same puzzle, but you're doing it two different directions.
That's it. He's got it.
Close.
No, I just looked at it, and still it's got me. Yeah. Isn't that funny? God, I've done this 1,000 times.
Are they recording? Yes.
Yeah, oh yeah, I'm looking foolish on the recording right
No.
now. There it is, there it is.
1, 2,
Your human showing.
ah, Pete's sake.
But the trick, the thing to know about this is you have to think outside of the square of the dots. Because it's impossible to do inside that.
Or you rely on Google to show you.
Thank God for Google, right? There it is. So the idea there obviously is that we want to think more creatively in our lives. That the answer we're looking for in our lives is seldom inside the box. The box represents what we already know, what we can see. There's something more going on. And a lot of people, me included, can find that very frustrating. If you can't, it's something outside of there. It goes back to the exercise we did with the nails the first night. You know, it's the idea that there's a way to do something. You just don't know what it is yet. That doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It just means you haven't figured it out yet. So the idea of being a creative thinker takes you to a place where you can move beyond something you already know into something new, something different. Sometimes people help you with that. Sometimes people show you the way. But sometimes you figure it out on your own just by staying with it till you see it, till you know it. But that is the point of creative thinking, being part of the prosperous living process. What's next? Number 4. Our emotions tend to be more composed. Have you ever noticed that about people? No, I don't, it's the reason I wrote tend to be, is because certainly there are exceptions to that rule. There are, but I think the way I would call it an exception would be people that tend to be really passionate. But what I find is that people that are angry, people that are abusive, are not prosperous people. It doesn't matter whether they have money or not. They're not living a prosperous life. The idea is that people who are living a prosperous life are in control of their emotions. And what we find is not that there isn't a full range of possible emotions to experience, But to be appropriate in life, you don't do things that get in people's way. You don't do things that are assaulting of other people. You don't step out into life and abuse people with your feelings. It's just not the way to be prosperous. Prosperous people, I believe, know how to get along, know how to interact with people, know how to create meaningful connections.
So is that number 5?
It says right there 4.
No, you said, prosperous people know how to get along.
Yeah, well, I'm speaking of emotions in that regard right now.
Yeah, I was.
Okay. Number 5. Our choices yield more productive results. Boy, isn't that the truth? People who are prosperous make choices consciously that take them in a prosperous direction. One of the most interesting things I've ever noticed about prosperous people is that they can go to a lending institution and get a loan anytime they want it. They don't. Some do, for big projects and things. But, and I'm sure that most of you know that you can go get money if you need to, but there's a lot of people in the world that do not live prosperous lives that would not be able to go because they don't have assets. They don't have a sense of it. I can remember the first business loan I did. I didn't have any assets. I wanted to buy assets with it, and I managed to do it, but I really didn't know what I was doing. And it was challenging. And I had to jump through lots of hoops.
Was that the drilling business?
That was when I was in Houston, yeah, it was in that business. It was a learning experience for me. But what I have seen is that experience yields a better understanding of how systems work. Many times because you crashed and burned, and you learn from it. There was a man, when the big crash happened in the oil industry in Texas back in the 1980s, he once told me that until you've gone out of business, you're only a half-ass businessman. You know, so the point is that you learn a lot from going out of business. And if you use that information in the future wisely, you won't have to do that again. And I didn't even have to do that again. What's that now?
That would be a great interview question.
It would, wouldn't it?
Tell me about your failure.
Yeah. Oh, yeah,
And
absolutely.
your regard for it would be a great interview.
And if you're ashamed of your failure, if you're embarrassed by your failure, if you hold self-judgment because of something that looked like failure, then you really didn't learn
Then
anything.
it has you, you don't have it.
Oh, exactly. It has you. You don't have it. It's a really good point. Great.
That's great.
Number 6. Obstacles are more easily overcome. I believe that prosperous people have challenges just like everybody else, but they don't succumb to them. They don't fall apart when something happens, when the loan doesn't go through, when the potential customer says they're not going to buy, or anything of the sort. You know, all of those things that happen in life, in our journey, of things that didn't turn out the way we expected them to, shouldn't stop us from being successful and prosperous. They're part of the plan. They're part of the experience. I don't know anybody who's achieved success in any endeavor without some challenges. It's just an integral part of the process. The question is, how do you deal with it? And people who are prosperous tend to believe they can overcome them. In fact, I know a number of people who were very wealthy, were worth millions of dollars, lost it all, and just started over and created it again. I knew one guy that did that 6 times.
Didn't learn it right the first time.
Well, but every time he did it, he came out okay. You know, there's a guy that that's in the beer brewing business. He's into microbreweries, but that's not where he started. He actually started with online companies, 5th generation, 7th generation cleaning products. Anybody ever heard of that?
Yeah.
Yes.
This guy started that. His name is Alan Newman. He started that and he built it up into a multi-million-dollar company. And then his board of directors fired him.
How can they fire you from
He's-
a business that?
Oh, they don't know, it happens all the time. The board can fire a founder, absolutely. It happened with Men's Warehouse, it happens in a number of cases. With Alan Newman, though, he left that and started another business. It was an online garden supply business, built into a multi-million-dollar business. His board fired him. Now, obviously, he had something to work on there. And what he realized after, this happened with another company too, and what he realized after that was, he liked to do business without a board. So what he does now is he buys microbreweries that are failing and turns them around and sells them. And he's a multi-millionaire. He lives in Vermont. And this story actually came to me through the reading of a book on the beer brand Sam Adams and the founder of that company and how he used this guy as a resource in saving Sam Adams. And golly, there's all kinds of ways to do it. It is not about fitting into a mold. It's about having these general abilities in your life, like dealing with obstacles. Don't ever think that you don't have to. You do. God knows, even being in this center, filled with obstacles, all kinds of things. I mean, it's really easy to see right now as we're working our way out of this pandemic, but it's happened before here. In 2008, our income just crashed. Somehow, brilliantly, our income held up because of some of you in the room and others that believed in this community enough to support it even when we weren't doing anything here. So we didn't have that problem here, but in 2008 we did. Our income was down drastically to the point where we really, at the only time, 2008, 2009, only time where we didn't have enough money to pay our bills. So what did we do? Well, we had an agreement, Barbara and I, with the center that we would always get paid. And I was not willing to not keep that agreement. It would have been, I've seen ministers do it. It's codependent. It's based on limited thinking. No, the ministers get paid. The tithe goes out. We were committed to that, and we would not do that. And for the better part of a year, every month, when we got paid, I deposited that check, and I wrote a check back to the center for that amount. Because the center needed it at that point more than I did. And I wanted the center to survive all of that. And at the same time, I didn't want it to not keep its agreement to me. So we worked it out. And it was over, and everybody was fine. Somewhere along that similar time in there, it was time for me to pay off my student loans for my undergraduate and my doctorate. And that was about 60 grand. And in the middle of all that, somehow I paid that off. I never really figured out how that worked, but I did. So I believe that we overcome our obstacles. We do not let them control us and own us. We're open to possibilities that may improve our conditions. Yes, we are. In fact, we're looking for them. We're looking for those possibilities. And oftentimes we haven't a clue what that's supposed to look like. Yet we believe it's there. And that's key. Because if we believe it's there, then it's there. And if we are vigilant in pursuing it, it will reveal itself to us, no matter what the circumstances are. And anybody who's living a prosperous life runs into times where they don't quite know what to do. And they're looking for possibilities. And it doesn't necessarily have to be based on a problem. Possibilities of markets to be in service to. Possibilities of resources. There's all kinds of ways to look at it. But the idea is that there's things going on you don't know about. And the task is to know it. And the first thing you do in that is believe that it's there. If you believe that it's there, you'll do it. If you don't believe it's there, it could show itself to you and you won't see it. I've seen people do that. The opportunity was right there in front of them and they couldn't see it. They turned it upside down and said it was a problem, or it was a trick, or it was something that they didn't want. or maybe there was an element of it that wasn't as attractive as they would like it to be. So it wouldn't be completely smooth sailing. You might have to put up with somebody who's difficult to work with, or any, 1,000 other things. But they wouldn't let that stop them. They wouldn't let that take them to a place where they were going to lose. They said, we'll do whatever we have to do to make this work, no matter what. I love that line, no matter what. It takes all of the problems off the table because they're irrelevant. Something makes this work. Something makes this work, and that's what possibilities are that improve those conditions. People who are living a prosperous life tend to be more physically healthy. Now, again, tend to be, because everyone comes to a point in their lives where their health fails. I mean, the process of transitioning in life, of dying, often requires illness. That seems to be the way it works. So that doesn't mean that everybody who has some physical ailment is not prosperous. At the same time, I believe that what that idea is based on is that people who are prosperous tend not to be stressed and worried to where it takes them away from their intention. They're not overwhelmed by life and it's taking some toll on their bodies.
The mind-body connection.
Yeah, and there is a mind-body connection with everything that we do. So the idea here is that we tend to be more healthy if we're living a prosperous life. And again, not taking that as an absolute, because we all go through health issues. That's just, what are you getting from being prosperous in that mind-body connection? You are tending to be more healthy. Okay. Number 9, we celebrate the success of others and others celebrate our success. Now, I'm not going to suggest to you that everybody celebrates your success. But there will be people that will. And they'll reveal themselves to you. And they'll congratulate you on your success. They'll see you as prosperous. And they'll know that that's how you're living your life. And they will admire you for that.
That might be you.
What's that?
That might be you.
It might.
I get a card from you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it well might be. So,
Thank you.
it's important for us to celebrate our own success and to celebrate the success of others. I've seen people do this. Something happens in someone's life and they get a lot of money, an inheritance, a lottery or anything, and people are jealous. And they're actually a little angry that it happened to that person. How does that help you? How would that in any way help you live a prosperous life? By being angry, upset, judgmental, or envious of someone who's had success in their lives. Well, they don't deserve it.
They liked you better when you were down and out.
Yeah. For whatever reason, for whatever circumstance, and even if you look, oh God, I wrote an article for Science of Mind magazine a year or two ago, and I got this incredible letter from a woman. It was talking about, not renegades, what's the other word for it? Maverick. It was talking about spiritual mavericks. They asked me to write this ridiculous article. And I pointed out that in business, there are lots of mavericks. And I think I mentioned Bill Gates and the founder of Apple, Jobs, and a couple of other people of that genre. And I got this letter from this woman that was so judgmental. She was canceling her subscription to the magazine. How dare I hold up those wretched people? Frankly, all of the people I spoke of brought something to life that made life better. That gave us things that if they hadn't done it, life would not be as interesting as it is. I mean, I know that we have a chronic issue with our devices now. that I watch families in restaurants where there's a mother, father, son, and daughter, and they're all sitting there on their devices, not interacting. So I know that all of it isn't sweetness and light. But all in all, living in the information age, we have access to things. Our little puzzle here. And a smarty pants, get up there and think that I can just do that and don't remember how, Betty gets on the internet and has it right away. That's an advantage. So this woman was just so angry about it. I don't know who she was. I don't know why she was angry. But it was just fascinating to me that she found people who had had great success in their lives to be terrible people. I just find that fascinating. And my guess is that her life wasn't all that successful.
Did you respond to her?
I did. I gently responded and told her my intention and wished her well. That's all you can do. You can't save people from their own thoughts. But it just seemed just out of politeness that I needed to respond. So we celebrate our success. We celebrate the success of others. And that allows other people to celebrate our success. You may think other people celebrating your success is no big deal. Because I would say to you, the people that would judge and find fault in you, you don't need to buy into them. But when there are people that find value in you and see things that you do having value in the world, embrace it. Accept that as a gift, as a blessing. No reason not to. Number 10, our lives are more meaningful and relevant. Now again, prosperity is not about money. Not just about money. It's a factor. There's so much more to it. And I think that living a life that's meaningful is the best thing we can do. Meaningful meaning what? Meaning that lives are impacted by our presence on planet Earth. We all don't have to be people that are changing the world, making the cover of Time magazine. But we certainly can touch lives. We can touch lives in our family. We can touch lives in our community. We can take on projects that help people we don't ever even get to meet. And that brings meaning to our lives. Life is about being in service. And I've always said that at the end of our days, it really doesn't matter what we built, what we founded, what we invented. Though that's all fine. But really it's about whose lives did we touch? That's what's important. That's the meaning in life. And that's what makes us relevant to life. Again, it doesn't have to be millions of people. It can be people in your own circle. But the fact that you touch lives in meaningful ways makes you relevant on planet Earth and has everything to do with you living a prosperous life. We enjoy more unexpected, life-enhancing experiences. One is our little game that we're playing with the unexpected income. And the same way this works, where things show up out of nowhere and we go, wow, I never expected that. Prosperous people have that happen to them all the time. Because they're open to it. They're open to receiving their good from any direction at any time. And when they do, it happens. Conversely, the exact thing happens when you're being grumpy and aggravated and mean-spirited and whatever else you want to do. Things will go wrong all day long. You'll drop things, you'll break things, you'll lose things, because that's the life that you're living, a life of discontent. But when you live a life of being content, things happen. Unexpected things happen. Isn't that lovely? Wouldn't we all, don't we all love it when those things happen? Well, the more you see yourself in the realm of prosperity, the more that's going to happen to you. I think it's hysterical that these experiences of increased income always start right before this class. And I start getting emails from people all over the world. Look what happened to me. Are you getting ready to start that class again? Yeah, so it really works. It's a mindset. We're creating that. And I would never suggest that we try to completely finance our lives by unexpected means. That's not reasonable. We need to be engaged in things and be bringing things into our lives consciously. But when you're on that path, things will show up. Things will show up that'll make such a difference. It happens all the time. And the final one, the benefits, people tend to see us as prosperous. Now, again, that may not seem like much, but it really is. It's wonderful to have people looking at you and going, wow, that's a prosperous person. That person's doing really well. Look how they hold themselves. Look at what they do in the world. Look how they support life. Look how they make a difference. That's a prosperous person. And it's actually, every time somebody has that thought about you, that's a blessing in your life, as much as it's a blessing in their life. Because they can identify prosperity. That makes them on the path as well. So those are the 12 things I came up with that I believe are benefits to doing this, that are much, much broader and deeper than just acquiring money.
Did you say 10 or 12?
Any thoughts on any of this? Anything pop for you as we went through this list?
I was just thinking, I knew a couple of millionaires that, one of them was in Daytona, he drove a DOT truck and
Yeah.
cut off shorts and a raggedy old shirt, because he didn't want people to know he was rich. You know, he just wanted to talk to everybody, right? And that was pretty cool.
Well, it's true that some people can't connect.
Farmers are like that too.
Yeah, and there's lots of farmers that are very wealthy,
Yeah.
and they should be for the work that they do, the important work they do. But the idea is that we all want connection, and sometimes being prosperous makes some people think you're approachable, that you and causes people to fall into those claims of judgment against you. So I get what he was doing, and there's nothing wrong with being very overt in your prosperity, not abusively overt, but in having nice things. I think that's perfectly fine. You know, I think it's for us to live that full, rich, meaningful life. Yes, Betty?
Sometimes I almost feel sorry for people that are rich and famous, because when people approach them for friendship, they never know if it's truly genuine friendship or if they're looking for some money.
Well, sometimes they do. Some people know how to do that, but don't feel sorry for anybody. We all create our own experience. And you know, anybody that is famous and wealthy has sought that. You know, it's hard, you can be infamous without trying to do it, but you can't be famous without seeking fame. So don't feel sorry for anybody like that. In fact, I would invite you not to feel sorry for anybody ever, because everybody's on their perfect spiritual path. We come into the room like this and talk about these ideas so that they ingrain themselves in our psyche, and so that we can act on it when the time is right, when we're looking to create something like that in our lives. But we're all on our perfect path, no matter what we choose to do. So, did you have a thought? Yes, Rick?
Yeah, one thing that I've been kind of going through the last day or so.
Speaking to this so it gets on the recording. I think it's on. Is it on?
Is the light on?
The light on.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, one thing that I was aware of yesterday, and I've been kind of sitting with it, I saw myself in an instance where I thought I was doing one thing, I thought I was in one mindset, and I was doing another. And yesterday, it was before church services, just shortly before. But I'd gotten here early, and there was a couple things I wanted to do in the kitchen, and be done before, and I had plenty of time. I was congratulating myself, as a matter of fact. And I was coming up the steps with something from the car, and I tripped. I caught my sandal. I wasn't paying attention. And I got kind of a nasty little scrape on my hand. But I sat with that last night after I got home, and here I thought I was like relaxed. Everything was going easy and everything. But I was in a hurry coming up those steps. And I thought, why? Why was I in a hurry? You know, and I was thinking back, well, that's often what I do. I kind of get into something, and then there's something, and I still haven't worked it out, but I'll get to it. But if I had just had that little spill and said, oh, I'm always doing dumb stuff, and let it go at that, I wouldn't have seen this. And, I've had a few of those little things, but, I caught myself. I thought I was in one mindset and I was in another. So, anyway.
Good for you. Thank you, thank you. Any other thoughts? All right, so we're gonna move on to this idea of action steps. There are 8 of these. And I'm calling them action steps for creating a holistic prosperous life. I threw in the word holistic, meaning that, again, this isn't just about money. It certainly creates the opportunity to have financial success, but it's much deeper than that. And there are, as I said, 8 of these. Stay inspired. Action number 1. Consciously seek out resources that keep you mentally, emotionally, and spiritually engaged in life. Read books and explore websites that are uplifting. Seek out entertainment that is inspiration. Attend Sunday celebrations of life at CSL Asheville, yay! And surround yourself with people that affirm life. It's a first step thing to be inspired and to keep that inspiration flowing in your life. I find that people that are greatly successful continue to seek inspiration, even once they're successful. They never try to go it alone. They're always seeking something. And it was interesting, I was sitting having lunch today at one of my favorite little Mexican restaurants, and they had one of the sports channels up on the TV that was in front of me. Interesting how Mexican restaurants have sports TV. And there was a story going on about the Seattle Seahawks, and Carroll is the name of their coach, Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll was the head coach of football at UCLA in Los Angeles before he took on the Seattle Seahawks. And he had great success at UCLA, and of course he won a Super Bowl up in Seattle. And he was a regular attendee at Agape in Los Angeles. I mean, that was clearly proof that even with the success he was having in his career, being one of the most well-known football coaches in America, he stayed with being inspired. He kept looking for things that would cause him to be more successful in his life. And he used Agape for that. And I'm sure that that's true for most successful people, is that they're out there seeking to be inspired in life. They read things and they interact with things that are inspiring, that hold them in that place of living a full, rich life, wanting to live that life, being inspired to do it. The next one is to maintain aspirations. Maintain aspirations. Be sure your basic needs are met first. You understand that what I'm saying? The things to make sure you have food and transportation and living accommodations and such as that. But once you've got that done, the idea is to aspire to greater things. It's not ego-driven to aspire. It's a natural part of life to achieve, to experience success, to accomplish things. Those are natural things that people do in life. And it's a healthy quest to have aspirations. In fact, someone who has no aspirations probably isn't going to be around very long. It's really good to have a plan. So let's see what else I wrote about that. Have some aspect of your life where you take some action for the betterment of others. Now, one thing about that is that doesn't mean that you can't be compensated for it. Some people think that they go do their job and get paid, and then they do something for others. But if you think about it, there aren't a whole lot of jobs where you're not doing something for somebody. You know, that's kind of built into it. But you have to be aware of that, and you have to seek to do that even better. You have to approach that job as though it really is making a difference in the world. And chances are it is. God knows this man on the front row who cleans carpetings is creating a great service to the world. He allows people to come into their places of business and their homes and see clean and smell clean and to enjoy a clean environment. That's service to the world. That's sacred service. And so is most of what we do, but we don't look at it that way. We think, I'm only doing it for the money. If you're only doing it for the money, you're really cheating yourself out of having meaning in your life. So understand that whatever it is that you do with your time and your energy and your resources, you're doing it and touching other lives with that. And it makes a difference. Consciously stay in a dynamic and continuously flowing of your resources. In other words, the idea here isn't to make money and keep it all. We have to live a meaningful, an interesting life. So we gotta live somewhere, we gotta drive a car. And the idea is to find some balance between what's coming in and what's going out. What I learned years ago was the idea of 10, 10, 80, where 10% is your tithe to your spiritual, the source of your spiritual good. 80% is to pay all your bills and take care of the needs of your family. And the other 10% is for you. And that does not get spent, that gets saved. And 10% doesn't sound like much, but over a lifetime, that's an incredible investment. I was actually in elected office with CSL for only 6 years. And they had a profit sharing kind of thing, a 401k program where they invested along with me. And in just 6 years, I created out of that a 401k of over $500,000. It's just wanting to invest in yourself while not restricting yourself on everything else that needs to be handled in your life. So the idea of having aspirations is an investment in who you are. Yes, you're aspiring to do good in the world, but you're also aspiring to live a prosperous life where you are prospering, where the people around you are prospering. That's the idea. Let's see, bring your divine nature into every activity of your life. Meaning approach whatever it is that you're creating with the idea that you are the presence of the divine. You're not coming to this as somebody who doesn't get it, or somebody who doesn't understand, or doesn't have the skills, or doesn't have anything. You're coming into it as God. And when you know that, and you take on a project, act that way. Like Charlie Shepherd always says, you're God. Act like it. And you do that with your aspirations, with whatever you're bringing into your life. And when you do, you get that kind of a result. You get a divine result. And the last one I've got on this is, let's see, know that you always know what to do. God, people tell me, I don't know what to do. Yes, you do. You just don't know it yet. You just don't know that you know it. But you know it. You wouldn't be on this path if you didn't know how to get there. Now, you may not consciously know, but that answer is within you. You don't have to go looking for it from anybody else. You don't have to go asking everybody what you should do. You know what to do. You absolutely know what to do. So trust yourself in that regard. Okay? Number 3, stay open to possibilities. Never limit yourself to past experiences. That was the puzzle. Because if you get caught limiting yourself to what you've seen happen before, that's as far as you can go. You can't really grow. You can't expand. You can't evolve. If evolution, by its very nature, means something more, something different, something better. So accept that that's the path, and don't rely on what you know already. There's more to know. There's more to understand. There's more to discover on your path. Always be ready to open to something greater. Pretty much the same idea. If our thinking, it's our thinking that limits or expands our potential outcomes. Anybody that gets caught up in the problem is focused on the problem. And if you focus on the problem, that's what you'll get more of. If you focus on the solution, if you focus even more so on the outcome that you seek to have, that's what you'll get. You'll never get an answer by focusing on the problem. Well, but how am I going to solve it if I don't focus on it? You're going to think bigger than the problem. You're going to recognize that your God within you is bigger than anything that looks like a problem in your life. So don't revere the problem. Move beyond it. See something bigger and better. Avoid arguing for your limitations with yourself or others. Avoid arguing, and people do it. Yeah, but I tried that and it didn't work, and I just know it's not going to work out. Yeah, right. Tell me about how it's not going to work out, and expect me to help you. I can't. Nobody can. It's not just me. Nobody can help somebody who is determined to fail. And what they're going to end up with is this big fat failure. Now, if you're playing the game in a way that's being open to possibilities, you can't fail. It's impossible to fail, because whatever outcome you create will have information for you and will take you to the next step. So looking at life as though it can be failures, it can't unless you choose for that. And if you choose that, you're bound to get it. And the last one on this is learn to instantly adjust your perceptions to something better. God, I've had to learn how to do that. Something happened. That's not what I wanted to have happen. This is a mess. What am I supposed to do with this? How is this going to work out? I don't know what to, all of that kind of focus will hold you back. But if you go, wait a minute. Okay, that's what happened. What is it that I want to happen? Okay, what is it in this pile of poo that's going to help me get there? What can I learn from this that's going to help me get to the place I want to be? And there's always something there. Seldom do people look for it because it looks like a pile of poo. But the truth is that everything, every outcome has something in it. Emerson, one of my favorite lines, you hear me say it all the time. Even in the muck and mire of things, something sings. Something in that has value. So look at it, find it, and it will carry you to a better place. If you just wallow in it, it'll just consume you. That's 3. Stay open to possibilities. Number 4, keep learning. Keep learning. Anybody that stops learning in their life is done. Then they can only have what they have. They can't have more. We're always supposed to keep learning. And if you see people who are successful in life, they keep learning. That brings to mind a TV interview that I saw one day. Many years ago, it was when Bill Clinton was a candidate for president. He was sitting being an interview, and the other person that was being interviewed was a man named C. Everett Koop.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He was the Surgeon General. And I don't remember the essence of the conversation, but Clinton said something, and Koop said, no, consider this. And he explained something to Clinton. And Clinton was so clear. He watched him, and he listened deeply to what Koop was saying. And he was learning. And I went, oh, wow, that guy's going to be president. Because he was a learner. And, I think that's something that happens in the White House, is that people like to take pictures of the president in the Oval Office. And often on that table, the back table behind his desk, there are books set up so that you can see them. And what they're supposed to be are books that the president is reading. How does a president have time to read books? But I actually knew a man who wrote one of the books that was on Clinton. I don't know why on Clinton tonight, but it was on President Clinton's table. And it was about how we were going to create a way to stop hunger in the world. And it was a brilliant book, but the fact that Clinton was reading it still attests to the fact that he was a learner. And that most people who are successful and prosperous in life continue to learn. So what I wrote about learning was, know that the more you know that you don't know. Yes, I used the word know 4 times. I'll read it again. Know that the more you know you don't know. which means there's more to learn. So the more you learn indicates that there's more to learn. That never ends. That never ends. Maintaining an inquisitive attitude and enjoy learning new things. Some people just find it arduous. They have to learn something. Oh, if I take that on, I'm going to have to learn this thing. Yeah, and then you'll know that thing. Then you'll have mastered something new. How great is that? They say that it's easy to learn a language when you're a kid, and it's much harder when you're older. But I know people that have learned languages in their 40s and 50s and 60s. So it can't be that hard. It just takes a commitment. And learning a language it can be an incredible journey because it opens up a whole culture to you, or maybe many cultures. Let's see what else we wrote about this. Seek the counsel of those who demonstrate wisdom in their lives. Learn from people that know who you want to know. I mean, don't take it just because they said it, but listen to what they say and take what really works and let the rest go. But we can learn from one another in amazing ways. I look around this room, I've learned from people in this room. I've learned from many of you, but what comes to mind is I've learned from Jack, and I've learned from Dr. Primo, and I've learned from lots of people here in this room, on many levels, and about many things. And I intend to keep learning, so keep teaching me.
I used to have a philosophy that the day I stop learning is the day I start dying.
There you go. Seek to know people who demonstrate emotional maturity. Because there's a learning curve on our emotions as well. Most of us in this room, I would say most of you have a great sense of emotional maturity, but there's plenty of people in the world that don't, that struggle, they get angry, on the turn of a dime. There's people that don't know that they control their emotions, they let their emotions control them. And that's just not true. We are absolutely in charge of what we're feeling at any moment. We may not have started it consciously, but we still created it. There's nothing going on in our energy field that isn't all about us. Learn to instantly adjust. Well, no, that's the wrong one here. Be an independent thinker. If you watch a documentary for 2 hours and don't find something you disagree with, you weren't thinking. You were just taking it in. There's always something to go, I don't agree with that. And that doesn't make you obstinate, that makes you a thinker. I do it all the time when I watch the news. I go, that's not true. I heard with the situation that's happening in Surfside, Florida, an area I know very well, and this hurricane that's headed that way, someone said that. They said that the hurricane was bearing down on Surfside. And I've been watching the weather. It's not bearing down on Surfside, it's going toward Tampa. Does that mean they're not going to get rain there? That's true, but this guy in his report said, boy, that thing is just dead set on going to Surfside. And that's not true. So listen to the news. Every time in news reports where I've been present to see the event that they're reporting on, I hear them saying things that I don't believe happened. It's quite amazing. So reporters are human beings. They have their perceptions, and they take from it what they want and report that to the community or the world, however they do it. But that doesn't mean it's so. So be an independent thinker and don't take at face value everything everybody says, especially on the news. Because chances are what they're saying is not completely accurate. Okay. And that's keep learning. And it's time for us to take a short break, and we'll come back and continue. All right, to continue our work here, we're going to do this pretty quick because I do have work that I want y'all to do. Let's move on to, have we done participate in life?
No.
No, here we are, participate in life. Nobody's here as an observer. Yes, you do get to observe things, but that's not your calling. Nobody comes here to this planet to just see what's going on. We're here to participate. We're here to engage. We're here to be a part of the solution of life and the evolution of life. So under participate in life, I write, bring your creative nature to every circumstance. Everything you do requires that you Be creative in approaching it. Don't try to do it any other way, it won't work. When I was young, I was very involved in art. I had a wonderful art teacher in junior high school that always challenged me to expand in what I did when I was, how old was I? Maybe 14. I had my first private show of my artwork. So I was really into that. Now, I don't do art for a living, I never have, but every job I've ever had, I've used those skills, one way or another. So that's part of my nature. That's part of my, and I don't say this to be egotistical, it's part of my genius. You all have genius.
Yeah.
You have things you're really good at. Bring that stuff to what you're doing. And it's not like you have to figure it out. It'll present itself. And use the gifts you have to make your life work, participating in life. Never accept anything on face value. Always look deeper. I was talking about that in the last one. The idea is you don't just take what people tell you. Go deeper. Find out what it is you need to know. It's going to help you be the person you've come to be. Bring your best to every situation. That's part of Ruiz's work. Do your best. It's just as easy to do your best as to be mediocre. It seems not. It seems like you would have to do, it would be harder, but it's not. I have watched teenagers work vigilantly to get out of working. And you put more energy in not working than if they just did the task.
Yeah.
And we all do that a little bit. You know, we're afraid that if we really engage in this, it's going to be harder. It's going to take something from you. No, it's going to add something to you. So do your best. Accept your role in life's divine unfoldment. Don't ever think that you're an outsider. Think that things are happening around you. They're happening through you. That's how life works. And the last one is, be a love magnet and a purveyor of peace. If you are open to love, people will love you. That's all you have to do. If you're open to love, and if you want to live a peaceful life, bring peace to the world in everything that you do. And that makes you a participant, not an observer. 6, maintain a deep conviction in truth. Truth, not facts, not opinions, but truth. So what do I mean by truth? Let me give you some examples. God is the essence of all. That's truth. I am the creative force in my life. That's truth. Capital T. I often, when I'm talking about truth from a spiritual perspective, always capitalize it. Because it's nothing that can be changed. It's absolute in every way. We have lots of facts in our lives, but they can change. We have opinions, and they change all the time. But the truth is the truth is the truth. So what do we do to do this? Hold our spiritual beliefs as sacred. When you know something is true in life, treat it that way. Treat it reverently. Demonstrate your alignment with truth in everything that you think, say, and do. That's the definition of integrity, of being impeccable, is when what you think and what you say and what you do are the same.
Little rocking bear.
Yeah, you're right. Will Rocking Bear, my Native American teacher. Stay open to having everything work out, no matter what. Really? Don't things work out? When we're looking forward into something and we're not sure how to make that happen, we question it. But if you look backward in your life, you wouldn't be here if things hadn't worked out. It all worked out. So what should be different about the future? It shouldn't be. So believe that, and it'll make the road a lot less bumpy. And the last one on that is, at the same time, stay open to greater understanding. Always open to greater understanding, which takes us back to the idea of being a learner. So that you may know what truth is, but someone can teach you some nuance about that. It'll open up some new way of seeing the world. So be open to that happening. Always be open to that. Yet, believe in the truth with all your heart. Number 6, be persistent. This is essential in living a prosperous life. There's no room to give up. And there's absolutely no failure. We already talked about that. Anyone that accepts a failure in their life is shooting themselves in the foot. Because there's some gift in that thing that happened, that outcome that occurred, that is not wrong and bad. There's something in there that will teach you something that makes it all work. So keep looking for that. Learn from every outcome, which is the same conversation, whether or not it is intended. Someone once told me that no experiment, no scientific experiment ends by the researcher or the experimenter saying, "Eureka! It happened just like I expected." What is more common is, that's funny. It wasn't the outcome they were looking for, but yet there was something important to learn from that outcome. It happens all the time in medicine and in chemistry and in space sciences and everything else. It's not what they expected, but it taught them something that kept it going. So you have to be persistent to get those things. You have to stay with it. You have to be incredulous in knowing that you're moving forward, even when it looks like everything is backed up. Be willing to bend but not break. All courses require adjustments. That doesn't mean you failed. It doesn't mean you're not headed in the right direction. It means you're making an adjustment. So stick with it. Never accept the limiting thoughts of others. Oh, that'll never work. Says who? You're not the one doing it. Mind your own business. I love you, but mind your own business. Because I'm going to succeed with this thing. It may not be exactly the way I expected, but I'm going to win. This thing's going to work out. You know, and if you take that kind of attitude and you're persistent with it, you'll get a result that will be something that really works for you, even if it looks different than you were planning, which is often the case. And the last one is stay focused on what you believe to be possible and accept nothing less. The way to achieve any outcome is to envision that outcome until you can taste it, you can touch it, you can smell it. It's real to you, absolutely real to you. And remind yourself of that regularly. And keep that persistently present in your consciousness, because that's where you're trying to get to. And it's not just you trying to get to it, it's coming to you. It's moving toward you as much as you're moving toward it. So stay with it no matter what. That's persistence. And the last one, bring your grace and poise to every situation. This is not a lightweight idea. Grace and poise. Poise is one of those words that we've lost in our lexicon, but it's a word that Ernest Holmes loved, and I love it too. So here's some ideas around that. Avoid being boastful when you succeed at something. Avoid being angry when you don't achieve the outcome you desire. Neither of those states help you at all. In fact, they detract from where you want to be. Know that people who observe you get more from your actions than from your words. Another Emerson quote. What you do speaks so loudly, I can't hear what you say. People are watching you. I know that's true in my life. I can get up on Sunday and give a brilliant lesson. But if I don't act that way in my life, it's completely discounted. It's useless. So I have to believe what I say and live according to that as well. And so do you. Maybe you're not getting up in front of an audience all the time, but the fact is that you in your life, people are watching you. Your partners are watching you. Your neighbors are watching you. Your friends are watching you. Not in a way of judging you at all. They're just observing who you are and how you live your life. And if there's an inconsistency in you, they observe that, and that diminishes their understanding of you and takes away from your relationship with you. Find good in everything that shows up in your life, because it's always there. It's always there. Yay. Any questions or thoughts about any of those ideas? All right. So what we're going to do, I tell tell you what, why don't we do our increased income right now? During our break, we figured out that we have someone who's had an experience, who's going to come now to the mic, Crystal, and tell us about this increased income experience. Pretty close?
Close enough.
We'll see.
Well, as in our prosperity statement,
She needs to get closer to
Maybe
in
we'll-
There you go.
in our prosperity statement, you know, prosperity comes in many, many forms, and we talk about health. So the past month, I've been a lot busier than usual, and haven't gotten into the gym or to yoga classes. And but I've been keeping the mindset and loving my body, and still been doing chiropractic and acupuncture. So I head to the gym today, and it was just, I didn't miss a beat. It felt so great to be there for yoga, then jumping on the treadmill, and it was like I hadn't missed a day. So I was really, really grateful for that. As far as the actual money, I have my consignment stores. I got $78, did a yard sale, 65, won 5 in the lottery. So I'm just clearing things out of my house, you know, getting a better flow that feels more prosperous, and preparing for more income.
Great.
And then another area of my life I've been prosperous is relationships. Some of you know I've been calling forth for my life partner. So this week I have 4 matches on Bumble, and Zooms and video chats and getting to know new people, and then just had one yesterday on eHarmony. So,
Ooh.
and also my chiropractor introduced me to somebody here. It's raining men.
That's great. Thank you, Crystal. Anybody else? Just make sure we didn't miss anybody on that? Okay, all right, so let's talk about our little process work here today. Take out your writing materials. I have 3 things that we're going to go through here today. Here's the first one. Cultivating a prosperity mindset. This is the first exercise. In your notebook, write down ideas that sometimes come to your mind when you're facing a challenge. Be honest with yourself. What do you think when something is a challenge? And I'm going to tell a little story to get us started on this. This morning, I got up. I've had this ongoing thing. I have what's called a VRM.
What?
VRM. It's a varmint relocation, no, VRP, varmint relocation program. Because we have an abundance of squirrels that love to come and hang out on our deck under our bird feeder. Of course. I don't mind, I like the birds are fine. We even have a chipmunk or 2 that come up there, no problem. But squirrels seem to tear things up. So I don't care for squirrels on my deck. And I've relocated, I think, 6 squirrels this season. And I got one that keeps eluding me. One reason is that the chipmunk will go into the have-a-heart trap and set off the trap and eat all the snacks I put in there and then climb out through one of the openings. Squirrel can't get out, but this one can. So I have reset it. So this morning, I went out there and set the trap and put down the bait and made sure that the trigger was well set so that one of the chipmunks couldn't set it off. And proceeded to watch with Barbara as the squirrel went in there and bounced around on the trigger on the thing that was supposed to set the trap, and it wouldn't go. And I went, screw this! I'm just gonna kill that squirrel! And I left the room and I went, John, get a grip! Really? And I went back and said, Barbara, that was inappropriate. I'm going to set the trap one more time. And of course, today, after 2 weeks of this, I caught the squirrel and relocated him to the Biltmore Forest. Yeah, all my squirrels get to live over near the Biltmore estate. Yeah. So that's my little story. So what you're going to do is you're going to write down these things that you face challenges. then with each one, write down an affirming idea that would better support you in overcoming the challenge. So you're gonna write down something that you've been challenged about, maybe several things, and how you reacted, the kind of a thought that came to your mind. And you don't have to share this with anybody, so be honest. And then, away from that experience, right now, what would be a better way to relate to that? A better idea to bring to mind in the midst of that challenge. So spend a few minutes doing that. We have a question from Margot.
Do you want us to focus on a specific thing or just challenges in general?
Challenges in general. This doesn't have to be a monstrous thing. It can be, like mine was just a little story about a squirrel. But, so where have you been challenged? What did you say to yourself about it? And what would you say if you went through that again? And Judith, it's time to turn that. So while Judith is going to the camera, if you're doing this at home, you can pause the recording and do your work and then turn it back on. Thank you. You can complete that. The reason that I've asked you to do this is because I can give you examples all day long, but the ones that are most poignant are your stories and your situations. The point of the exercise is to be able to move from that place of struggle to a place of outcome, so that you can get what you want by changing your affect, by changing your thinking patterns. And that's a skill that's developed, to go from problem to, no, this can work out, and then letting it work out. So learn to catch yourself when you're faced with something and the first words that come out of your mouth are something limiting. Catch yourself. Don't make yourself wrong. Don't judge yourself. Just go, wait a minute, let's rethink this, and come up with a different way of experiencing what has happened so that you can move forward. And nothing teaches you that better than your own experience. Okay? All right, let's go on to this next one. Exercise 2, make a list of your spiritual practices. Noting how often you do each practice. That could be every day, it could be twice a week, could be once a month, whatever it is. And what benefits you receive from doing those practices. What kind of practices are we talking about? Well, certainly prayer work would be among that, spiritual mind treatment we call that. It could be meditation, it could be walking in the forest, it could be any number of things that you have that you consider spiritual practice. What do you get for doing that? What are the benefits? So make a little list of whatever you believe are your spiritual practice. And after you've written it, you may have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things on it, whatever. At the end of the list, write either, I am satisfied with my level of spiritual practice, or I am choosing to modify my spiritual practice by. So most people don't really look at their spiritual practice as a collective to see if that's really doing it for them. But if you can write down what you do, and write down how often you do it, and write down what it is that you received as a benefit for doing that, then consider, are you happy with it, or is there more that you would like to do? And either state clearly that you were satisfied, or make some kind of a commitment to yourself to modify it, however that is. Spiritual practice is a key element in any successful life. Make a list of places you most enjoy being. Could be home, could be in your car, could be in the forest, could be at the beach. Places you really enjoy being. When you've got that done, make a second list of places where you go that are not on your first list. And with that list, you're going to look at each place on that second list and write down what you could do to move it to the first list. Think about it. There are places you go in your life that you think you have to go. You may not want to go. You may not enjoy going. Maybe relatives' houses. Could be, some people don't like shopping. Could be places you go that are not pleasant, not particularly pleasant for you, certainly not highly enjoyable, what could you do about those places, individually, one at a time, to make them where you enjoy going there?
Can I ask, are you talking about maybe changing the meaning of what they?
That's great, that's brilliant, yeah.
Okay.
Your perception of it, sure. So as we're finishing up this, is there anyone that received any insights in any of these 3 exercises that they're courageous enough to share with the group? Anything pop for you? Yes,
When I thought I've had insurmountable challenges, I realized I pretty much overcome every single one,
yes, you have.
you know, through
Yes, good for you.
calming down and.
And knowing that will keep you from having to face that arduous task of not knowing if it's gonna work out.
And the outcomes were kind of funny sometimes.
Yeah, well, that's true, that's the nature of life. It can be very amusing, yes. Judith?
I find that if I'm going somewhere that I don't enjoy being, a lot of times I end up enjoying being there.
Ah, good to know. Good to know. All right, and yes, Breezy?
About the places that you go that you don't want to go. I find most of those places, if I think about them as, for example, doctor's offices
Yes.
and shopping.
Okay. I get it, doctor's offices.
I hate both. But you go into the doctor's offices to get healthy.
Right.
As opposed to just for the hell of it. And the same reason for shopping.
Let's stay with that, the idea of a doctor's office.
Okay.
Nobody enjoys going to the
Yeah,
doctor's
they don't go
office.
just for fun.
But that's because they're thinking about, I'm gonna get stuck, I'm gonna get told things that I don't wanna hear, about all of that stuff, rather than doing what you did and say, I'm going there to affirm my health
Yeah.
and to have support in being healthy.
Yeah,
And when you look at it that way, it changes the whole context.
I don't wanna affirm anything, I don't make up anything.
Of course not, of course you don't.
I just concentrate on perfect health all the
Good, that's great. Concentrate on perfect health. And sometimes there's a healthcare professional involved in that process to support you.
That would be,
Would be awesome, huh? So the purpose of this little 3-part exercise that we did is to smooth out the wrinkles in our lives. Rather than finding things as problems, seeing that really they're only problems if we're acting like they're problems, if we're seeing them as problems. But there's always something else going on that supports us. If we'll just let that be the focus, it'll make the whole thing go much easier, much more pleasantly. And it will align with our prosperous nature. So I hope there was something helpful in that. I would really encourage you to go back over this sometime this week and just look at it again. Once it's been out of your mind for a while, then to read it again and see how you feel about those things. And if you really do want to apply some changes that could make that all run more smoothly. Susanna?
Well, the slides, they all go on the.
They will be online, yes.
Okay,
Yes, that will be part of the whole presentation online.
great.
Yes, thank you, yes.
I had something.
Remind me your name.
Carolyn.
Carolyn, thank you.
As I did the last exercise, I realized, and I used hospital, we were in the same.
There you go,
same
hospital,
mindset,
huh?
Yes, but then I started thinking about applying the process of realigning to time,
Mhm.
like a time in my life, or a time in my parenting, or a time in
Okay.
my career, or a circumstance.
Still applies, doesn't it?
Right.
That's
It's
great.
very
Instead of
accurate.
place, use time.
And you
Yeah.
can go back.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
repair something that you
You
have.
absolutely can go back and repair it. Because what you have, you don't have that actual experience happening, you have the memory of it.
Yes.
And you can restructure your memories however you like. We do plenty of that, of getting stuff in our way. Why not use it to create a more pleasant memory of that so that it doesn't impact our future? Good for you, Carol. Well done. Very nice. All right, so that's where we are tonight. Thank you for your wonderful attention as we went through this. I'm trusting there was something of value for everybody. And now what we're going to do is pass these baskets around. Of course, we'll do a treatment. Let me talk just briefly about why we do this. Of course, we do it essentially so that we can pay our bills or anything. That's important. But there's another element to this that I think is worth talking about, and that's that when people support this center and love this center and contribute to this center, it's an acknowledgement that you got something. I've seen people receive incredibly valuable information, but they weren't willing to be in an exchange experience with that, and when they left, they just forgot it all. There was nothing to add. So when we acknowledge the value of what we received by giving, it creates a balance. It creates a continuum that really does allow us to use the things that we're learning in an ongoing way. So what I know is that the presence and the power of the one, that one creative force of the universe, dwells right here. It's in me, it's in everyone here. It is the affirming of all life, all form, all time, all space. And it's right where we are. It is the essence of our very being. So we've come together tonight to play with these ideas of prosperous living, knowing that we are that presence, knowing that we are creating our lives, and knowing that things that we have accepted tonight as the truth of us are things we will use to live that prosperous life more and more every single day. So I bless the gifts that come from these who have joined me here. I bless the gifts that come from those who watch us online. And I know that we continue to prosper in every way. And for that, I am deeply, deeply grateful. And so it is.
Is there a way to do a lead contribution, like through PayPal?
Yes, absolutely, all the time on our website. And as soon as we get the little credit card device up next to that computer that's on the wall around the corner there, we'll have our donation station up. And anybody can do that there.
Does anybody know the PayPal?
If you go on our website, there's a donate button. It'll take you right to PayPal. It's kind of fun watching these baskets float around the room. So I love to bless that comes to us. And I know that these gifts are sacred, that they're given with love, and that they are deeply meaningful to the giver and to this center. So I know in the symbiotic relationship of people who come here and take good advantage of the blessings that are here, are blessed in their lives as they support this center. And that circle is complete again and again and again. It's all good and it's all God, and we simply let that be true as together we say. And so it is. Wonderful. Have a fantastic week.
We don't do treatment again?
You want to do it again? Yeah, let's do it again. You're absolutely right. Things still running. Let's do it again. Everybody up. Here we go. I, John, know that God is the source of all supply, and that money is God in action. I know that my good is here now. I am so rich and so full that I have an abundance of money to spare and to share today and always. I know that true prosperity includes perfect health, perfect wealth, and perfect happiness. This word, which I speak in faith knowing, now activates universal law, and I accept the results. I bless all that I have now, and I bless the increase. I bless all the others in the increased income program of our center, and I know that we now prosper together in every way. I give thanks for this good, and so it is. Have a fantastic week, everybody. Hey.